Streaming live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and blasttheradio.com, this is The Lowell Green Show. The number to call and be heard around the world is 613-413-2217. Or email Lowell at blasttheradio.com. And now, here is Lowell Green.
Thank you, John. Anything you want to talk about, folks, it's quite easy to get through. Love to hear from you. I'm listening to some noises in the kitchen just behind me here. My wife apparently is trying desperately in the fridge to find the salsa. I decided for lunch that I wanted some salsa and hummus, and I don't know why they can't devise refrigerators that they should have little refrigerators where you could push a button and they would, it would come around and show you what you have and so forth. Otherwise, I mean, if you got, I don't know why this is, but Debbie's wine is always at the front. Okay.
The same thing happens here.
But everything I want, like I love olives and pickles, which she hates. And so, and salsa, which is always right at the back.
I know.
So you got to pull out about 27 different items. And of course, when she's digging for stuff from me, well, she's, it's got bang, bang, bang. If it's wine she's looking for, it's very delicate and so forth. But if it's looking for my stuff, it's bang here, bang that, everything. Okay, Debbie, hope you get the message.
You and I have the same fridge, Lowell.
It seems to me there should be a high-tech fridge that first of all records everything you got in there, because sometimes you get back into the fridge and you find something that's been there for like 9 months.
They actually do have fridges now. Talk to your friends at Shields. They actually take inventory of what you've got.
It's growing animals.
Yeah.
Forget mold. I mean, there's animals coming up off it. Anyway. Anybody, any ideas on, an improvement for the fridge industry? I have several questions here. One of them is this. What do you think, folks? Should Canada boycott the upcoming Beijing Olympics? And what kind of boycott would you support? There are two possibilities here. Number one, of course, a boycott by the athletes, or a boycott by government officials, which is called a diplomatic boycott. The United States, for example, is expected in the next day or two to announce that it's going to have a diplomatic boycott. Several other countries have already announced similar actions. Now, we all know, of course, that the Liberals, particularly Trudeau, are in love, deep, deep love with China, and always find great difficulty in doing or saying anything that may tick off the Chinese in any way. It served us so well, as you know. Our relationship with China is to be celebrated. But the Aaron O'Toole, by the way, O'Toole, I'm really pleased with the way he is performing these days. He's even beginning to get the notice of some of the left-wing media and giving him a tiny little bit of credit. But at any rate, Aaron O'Toole has spent a fair amount of time, apparently, talking with a number of our Olympic athletes, and has come to fully understand and appreciate the amount of training, hard work that's gone into, and how disappointed they would be if there was an athletic boycott. Thus, he is saying, look, let us not punish the athletes. Let us continue to allow them to be rewarded for their hard work, their dedication, their training, etc. But let us join with a number of other countries, including the United States, and call for a diplomatic boycott. Not as effective, not as powerful, perhaps, as a full-scale boycott, but nonetheless, no government officials come from most of these countries would send a very powerful message to the Chinese and to the rest of the world. We are very unhappy with the Chinese human rights record. So I'm wondering if you think this is a good idea. A diplomatic boycott. We would not send any government diplomats. Now, this, not only that, but I would think that if we're not going to send any government diplomats or government workers at all, this would save us a ton of money. Let's remember, how many, John, did we send to the to Glasgow and Rome for the environment? Over 200.
277.
So if we send 277 of Trudeauites to for an environmental meeting, can you just imagine how many Trudeauites and others we would have sent to the Olympics? But whether Trudeau can bring himself, whether his government can bring themselves to actually do anything to be even slightly critical of China remains to be seen. It would be very interesting if Canada was one of the few Western countries that did not engage in a so-called diplomatic boycott. So I'd like to hear from people. Would you support a boycott of any kind? Would you support a boycott of all of the athletes? Do you think that would be fair to the athletes? Or do you think it's a better idea, not as effective perhaps, but nonetheless certainly to send a message, to have a so-called diplomatic boycott? No government officials from Canada, no government officials from the United States, and many other countries. Would you support that? What do you think? By the way, talking about our relationship with China, it's interesting to note that our ambassador, the Canadian ambassador to China, Dominic Barton, has just announced his resignation. He has served this nation, I think, quite well in the past 2 years. In fact, a lot of people are giving him credit for the eventual release of the two Michaels. Very little credit, I think, goes to Trudeau or any of his cohorts. But apparently, Dominic Barton, our ambassador, worked very hard. And as I say, a number of people are giving him credit, or at least some of the credit, for the release of the Michaels. But the fact that he is resigning after 2 years indicates, as well as anything, I guess, the tremendous frustration he has with our relationship with China. And in that regard, once again, Aaron O'Toole to the fore, he described our relationship with China this morning as, quote, a mess. He says, our relationship with China is a mess. And he says, it's got to be cleared up. And he says, he hopes that the next ambassador that we appoint will be a very experienced diplomat and not just a friend of the Liberal Party. So there's some thoughts for you, folks. The whole issue with China, the mess. Don't forget, if we have a mess with China, it's one of our major trading partners, and they have cut way back. They're not buying our canola, they're not buying pork, etc., etc. So the mess of a relationship. Any comments? And the pending, at least, diplomatic boycott. Where do you stand on that? We're just waiting for some response on that, John.
We've got some if you're ready.
Yeah, sure. Let's hear what people have to say.
Jake says boycott completely. The government and athletes. Peter says boycott the government. The U.S. and Canada, I doubt, will carry out a boycott. Both Trudeau and Biden are in the pockets of that country.
No. Let's get this straight. The United States is expected, maybe as early as today or tomorrow, to announce a full diplomatic boycott. So let's not jump to false conclusions. Already a number of other countries, some of the Scandinavian countries, have announced a diplomatic boycott. And as I say, Aaron O'Toole is calling for Canada to do the same thing. To be honest with you, I agree with him. It's not as effective, perhaps, as a full boycott, but the athletes should not pay the price here. This is a failure of government relations at a number of levels. I don't see why the athletes should be the ones to pay the price. It's a government screw up. Let the government employees and all the rest of them stay here, send a message, and allow the athletes to do what they want. That's my feeling. What about you? Any other comments there, John?
Absolutely. Let's go to Chris's comment here on Facebook moments ago. I would support a diplomatic boycott similar to the way the world stood up in Sochi with great unity surrounding their stance with gay rights. The athletes do not need to get caught in that. They've put so much work into that. Imagine working as an unpaid amateur for years and years to be told no about their dreams. They must be allowed to compete.
Very true. I was impressed. O'Toole said that he has spent a fair amount of time speaking with athletes because the Conservative Party has been considering supporting a full-scale boycott. But he says after meeting with the athletes and seeing how hard they work and how hard they train and how much the Olympics mean to them. This is, every 4 years, this is a goal that many of them have worked, in some cases, more than 4 years for. And for them to have to pay the price, he feels is unfair. And I think he's got a good point. John, any more comments here?
Yeah, we just heard from Michelle moments ago on Facebook. She says, I just heard the U.S. announced a boycott, or Biden is not going. Anne says, after the way China treated us with the two Michaels, why would any Canadian attend the Olympics in China? And says a bit controversial of an opinion, but I think dictator countries should not even be allowed to participate at all in the Olympics. It is like rewarding countries with very bad records on human rights abuses, allowing them to participate.
No, but that doesn't answer the question here. Would you support a boycott, at least a diplomatic boycott? I asked the question again. I understand what you're saying. Maybe it was a mistake, but the fact is, this is where the Winter Olympics are going to be held. Canada specializes and always does very well in Winter Olympics. Why would you want to punish our athletes for something over which they have absolutely no control? Go ahead, John, please.
Here's a text. Our number here, 613-413-2217. Hi, Lowell. The Liberals will never boycott the Olympics in Beijing. You ask why? Another reason to send a bunch of politicians to go on holidays on the taxpayers' dime, says Jason.
No, but answer, please. What I'm asking is, okay, I understand your point, but would you support a diplomatic boycott? You can, rant. I understand the feelings here, but if I could get some people to respond, because once again, I'm going to be in touch with Aaron O'Toole's office here, and I'd like to be able to tell him what people are saying. If most people say no, there should be a full boycott, I'll tell them that. But if some of you at least support, but at least let me know. That's all I'm asking. Just let me know. Do you support, at the very least, a diplomatic boycott? Thank you, John. Any more?
A direct answer to your question from Greg, yes, I would. Jason says, yes, I support a diplomatic boycott. Terry says, Winter Olympics in China, maybe we can sell them snow. Yes to boycott, says Terry.
Yeah, but what kind of boycott? Please. Folks, please. I mean, I'm asking something very simple here. Hey, we've got to decide a full boycott, including athletics, or just a diplomatic. That's all I'm asking. Please. Okay, go ahead, John.
Craig says, yes, I would support a diplomatic boycott. Michelle says, yes, boycott, but let the athletes decide if they want to go. Don't punish them. Political boycott, says Greg. What will these Olympians do, asks Chrissy on Twitch. After all, they've practiced all their lives to get to the moment of being at the Olympics. I disagree with a boycott. Yes, says Ann, at the very least, a diplomatic boycott. Full boycott, says Terry. And this just in via text. Barry says, Lowell, we should have a diplomatic and trade boycott with China. Their human rights and the way they are being aggressive towards Taiwan are a mirror image of the Japanese Empire just before World War II.
Okay. I have another topic here. Okay. And by the way, I'd love to take, as I say, I'm going to relay your message on to O'Toole's office to see if he's on the right chapter here. All I'm asking is just a definitive answer. Full boycott, no boycott, or diplomatic boycott. Just please, okay? So I can tell Aaron exactly what it is you want. I mean, constantly, John, you and I and everybody in the media is always being told, oh, they never listen to us. Well, one of the reasons that government never listens is because you never tell them what you want. Very often, I give you a chance to tell government what you want. And it's amazing the number of people who can't be bothered to do that. If you can't be bothered to tell the government what you want, then please don't criticize the government for not doing what you want. You know what? The governments are many things, some good, some bad. But this, I can assure you, they are not mind readers. Here we go again on a different topic, okay?
Yep.
First whiff of winter. I mean, folks, this is like we're on the edge of the Arctic Circle here. This is Ottawa. This is the second or most coldest capital in the world, okay? So we get snow here. Sometimes we get freezing rain, etc., etc. But here we go again. A little whiff of winter, and what's the first thing we do? Cancel all the school buses. Geez, did we? Come on. I don't know what was the weather like at your place. I mean, was there any justification for canceling buses this morning at your house?
Now, I live on a little court, so we're always the last to get plowed. So if I'm just looking at the door and seeing my court, oh, God, yes, I get why they didn't, put the school buses on the road. The minute I got to the end of the court and onto the main street, it was black pavement. It was fine.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I mean,
and there was no reason to cancel buses as far as I can
sometimes I even wonder why this push for winter tires, because I mean, 99.99% of the time the tarmac is all bare, for God's sake. I don't know. Let's not get into
that. Has more to do with the rubber compounds and how they adhere to the road depending on the temperatures.
I'm not so sure, but at any rate,
okay.
But look, our kids for 2 years now have been pushed and pulled and pillaged and in class, out of class, no class, do this, do that, wear mask, don't wear mask. They've been pushed around in circles, for God's sake. And the first little whiff of winter, they cancel the school buses. I mean, Jesus, Murphy. You know, it just seems to me that here we go again, panic, 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 panic. Oh my God, we're going to get some snow. Let's cancel everything. Maybe there's justification. I don't see it. I didn't see. I'm going to tell you. I live out in the sticks here. We don't have buses of any kind, et cetera, et cetera. But I don't see any reason for anything to be canceled. Roads were bare. I mean, my driveway. They haven't plowed my driveway yet. What is 2 inches of snow? Big freaking deal. If any comment on that, let me know. In the meantime,
yep, they're chiming in already.
Go ahead.
Nancy says it's the moron drivers that don't slow down near schools or children walking to school. Tara says Kempville had snow and ice rain. Their area absolutely needed it and calls it a sissy state. Hazel says need snow tires. Not everyone lives in Ottawa. Greg says, when I grew up in Pembroke in the 70s, we had no snow days. Our bus drivers just drove and away we went. And Kathy says they never canceled school buses until we got 30 to 35 centimeters of snow. Now they cancel them over 5 centimeters.
Yeah, or even a threat of 5 centimeters.
Well, yeah.
Now, there may be some justification. I don't think
the insurance companies having a say in that, do you think?
No.
Limiting their liabilities?
No. This is just panic mongering. We for some reason or other, we seem to think that we have to erect bubbles around our children. We can't. There's a risk in everything. They won't let the kids climb trees anymore. You can't slide slides anymore. You can't have, you can't do this and you can't do that. Well, you might get hurt. You might get injured. Yeah, I must tell you that a number of years ago, we have lots of trees on our property here. And one day I looked out, and here's our 3 grandkids. They were 6, 7, 8, 9, somewhere in that range. And they're all up in the tree, climbing the tree. Well, the reaction from the mothers here, oh, yeah. And I said, wait a minute, hold it. You know what? Let them climb the trees. Kids, there's going to be some risk in something, If they get out on their bicycle, if you want to have risk, send them out on their bicycle on a city street, for God's sake. But this idea that somehow kids learn from taking a risk of some kind. So anyhow, they stayed up in the tree and they had a great time. You know what? They still talk about climbing the trees. Wonderful. But I just think that it's these so-called helicopter parents where, oh my God, my child, we can't allow my child to go on anyway.
You raise an interesting point, Lowell. We cancel the school buses, but encourage people to bike to work.
Yeah, very, very true. Yeah, or walk to work. Like, excuse me, you're telling me it's safer to walk? If the roads are really that slippery, so you got all of these cars whipping up and down, and you're sending your kids on a sidewalk, 2 or 3 feet from speeding vehicles. It doesn't make any sense. Once in a while, if there's freezing rain, go ahead.
I had to drive Sue to work this morning, and the sidewalks were not cleared. After the city said sidewalks are going to be a priority, there were people, Lowell, walking up Bank Street, like on Bank Street. It's 6 lanes if you count the turning lane in the middle. It's right. 6 lanes. People are walking up Bank Street.
What about the bike lanes? They're usually the first to be plowed.
I'm sure they were.
Shields, got to get some word in here for our good friends at Shields.
Excellent.
Folks, most people at least are concerned about price these days. And here we go again. One of the problems that small businesses like Shields always has is that there's an assumption out there that you're going to save money if you deal with the big box stores. Thus, you will see the parking lots at the big box stores jammed with thousands of cars. People will walk for 400 miles to get into a big box store because they think they're going to save $12. Well, I'm going to tell you something. You might save $12 at a big box store, but you might save $50 if you deal with Shields. Check them out. www.shields.ca. There you will see a great website. Everything you want, appliances, electronics, mattresses, furniture, etc., etc. Check it out. And free steaks. Don't forget, that great little butcher shop. Local meat, local pork, local chickens. They make their own sausage. They make their own whatever. shields.ca. Folks, don't take it for granted that somehow you're going to save money at the big box store. You may, but you may not. Not if you deal with Shields. You may save a fair amount. John, we've got some more comments here.
Yes, we do. You want to do buses or do you want to do
Whatever you
boycott?
want. Fire away.
Peter says liability issues with the buses. He said that pretty much the same time I asked you that question. Joshua says the bus companies don't want to take any risk at all. If anything were to happen
Not
to
the bus companies. Sorry. Hold it. It's not the bus companies that call the shots. It's the school board. Okay, it's got not the bus companies don't call these shots. That's the school board that makes the decision. Go ahead, John.
Kim says no to the boycott. What will it achieve truly, and why should athletes and us miss out on the Olympics? Glenn says,
let me just comment. See, there's somebody,
Yep.
there's somebody that hasn't paid a single, not paid attention to a single word that I've said. That drives me bonkers. I pound away, say, look, do you support a full boycott, a diplomatic boycott? And obviously that whoever wrote that didn't, after me repeating it about 10 times, didn't listen to what I asked. Drives you nuts, John. Go ahead.
Tara says, as for the buses, STEO calls it, not the school board. So she's saying the transit company itself calls the shots.
I don't believe that for a moment. No. Who said that?
Tara, Ian Kempfield. Buses were stopping on the road and letting people off instead of pulling into bus shelter lanes. We're talking about OC Transpo. Chrissy says that this morning, right now. Panic, says Glenn. Just listen to the weather forecast. Always wind chill temperatures. Valda says it's amazing we all survived as kids.
That's very true. That's very true. You know, I can remember talking about that. I know that this is old hat, but I used to ferry around some of my nephews in London, Ontario, and I can remember little James, and he was maybe 4, and he would stand on the seat next to me, and when I went to stop, I just put my arm up to. I mean, that was the restraint that we had. You're right. How we ever survived as kids, I have no idea. Go ahead.
Let me see. We've got another person chiming in. Diplomatic boycott only, says Liz.
Okay.
Lori says, I took buses in high school, never missed a day. Mike says, with all the things we did when we were kids, I'm surprised we all survived. There's another person saying pretty much the same thing. Let me see. Nina, we used to play cowboys and Indians, and we used actual BB guns. Yikes.
Well, no, that's not true. We may have had BB guns, but we weren't firing BBs at each other. We weren't that stupid, okay?
It was cap guns in my neighborhood.
Cap guns. I can still, I can still remember the smell of the cap.
Right?
Remember it? Yeah, that was great. Cap guns.
But
by the way, there's no way that you're playing cowboys and Indians today. In fact, if you even use the word Indians, that's it, man. You're labeled God knows what. They'll tear down your statue. Go ahead.
I'm amazed you're the one to call me out for having even read that on the air and didn't show up in the comments. I want to talk about the housing crisis and the solution, says Kim.
Go ahead.
All right, Kim, go ahead and talk. 613-413-2217. That's all she says. She wants to talk about it. Then she said nothing. Let me see. Joshua says the world WTA so far has sent a stronger message to China than Canada and the U.S. thus far by pulling all their events from China. Let me see. I have no bias for China. As far as the Olympics, I feel there should be measures and restrictions in place to allow them to attend. The diplomats can stay home. It's all about the athletes. China should never have been allowed to host. The IOC is responsible for that one. Karen says yes to a diplomatic boycott. No reason to cancel buses in Canada. Mike says, yes, I support that as well. I would support that as well. I believe he's talking about a boycott. Not sure what kind of boycott. No to a diplomatic boycott, says Katie. Full boycott is what she wants. Lori says it has to be a diplomatic boycott for sure. And Sean is in for a full boycott and not just a diplomatic boycott.
I just don't understand, why we think we should punish the athletes who have no role to play in this. They've done nothing wrong. They've worked hard to represent this country, many of them with great pride.
Yep.
And we're going to punish them. I don't understand. I don't understand why anybody would want to do that. Go ahead, John.
I suspect it's because that makes the bigger point. That's what it's all about. The athletes.
Yeah, I know, but at whose expense,
Exactly. No, I agree with you.
Yeah.
Full boycott says, Eric, everything. The current Chinese government don't deserve to celebrate their country with any flag waving. Hold the Olympics anywhere else. Terry says, my brother shot me in the leg with a pellet gun. Nina's back to say, nope, we actually did. We used BB guns. That's crazy. Katie says, it's not about punishing the athletes. It's about sending a message to the IOC. Back to the issue of roads. Kathy says, roads were clear at 6:45 this morning. There was no need whatsoever to cancel buses.
I mean, I'm hearing, like, we got very little snow here where we are. How about you, John? Did you get much snow there?
Yeah, we got quite a bit, but like I said, the roads, by the time I was up at 7 o'clock this morning, the roads were clear and bare.
Okay. I have one other question here. I'm really puzzled this morning. Maybe it's the time of year. Maybe it's my age. I don't know. But I don't understand why I or anybody who doesn't use the bus or light rail has got to provide free transportation all this month for people who use OC Transpo or light rail. I'm unclear, actually, whether this is. I'm unclear as to whether the free rides apply to the buses or just to light rail. I'm unclear. But
I believe
whatever,
it's everything, the whole system.
I just don't understand this. I mean, why have I first of all, we don't have bus service here. If I want to go anywhere, I got to get in a car, okay? I got to drive the car, I got to pay for the gas, and if I go downtown, I got to pay for the parking. So somehow or other, some of my taxes are going to provide free transportation for people for a solid month. I understand the purpose was to encourage, because we made this huge mistake with light rail, screwed the whole thing up. So somehow or other, now I got to pay for this. Nah, wait a minute. Already, I must tell you that even at the best of times, when people are paying something for their transportation, we taxpayers who don't have access to buses, etc., we're having to subsidize. Every ride on OC Transpo costs taxpayers a good chunk of money, above and beyond the fares. Okay, let's get that straight. But now we're paying the full shot. I just don't understand this. I'm, you know what? I'm out here, and I'm not alone. I mean, we're tens of thousands of other taxpayers out here. I pay double for my hydro because I'm out in the country. I have no bus service. I have no street lights. I have no sidewalk. I have no water service. I have no sewage service. But somehow or other, I got to pay for some for some person to jump on a bus for free for all month long. Why? What have I done? Why are they billing me? John, what? Am I wrong on this one?
I'm torn on this one. Here's an interesting comment from Terry. He says he believes RTG is paying the shot. Have you heard that? I've not heard that.
No, we are the taxpayers.
Anne has a good point here too. She says, I think it won't matter too much since ridership is almost non-existent.
No, but that's not the point. The point is why, it's all very well. It's nice to be nice. But somebody's got to pay for this, and I am sick and tired of paying other people's bills. I'm sick and tired of paying welfare for people who should be out there getting a job. We've got employees everywhere, employers looking for people. They don't want to work. I got to pay the social benefits and everything else for all of these people out there who don't want to work. They're living in their mother's basement. I'm sick and tired of that. I'm sick and tired of paying unemployment insurance when there's all kinds of jobs going begging, for God's sake. And I'm sick of paying money for people to ride for free on OC Transpo, which is not even available to me. That's what I'm sick of. Other than that, I feel pretty good.
Well, that's good to hear.
No, but you know what? All of this free stuff is great. Free stuff is. Problem is, somebody's got to pay for it, and always it's you and me, John.
Yep.
You and me pay for it, buddy.
I know. Bob says Lowell is right. This is not free money from RTG. Kathy says, no buses out my way, and I don't feel I should pay for someone else to get a free ride. Ann says, I think it won't matter too much since ridership is almost non-existent.
That's not the point. The point is why, whether it makes any difference or not, the point is that you and I are paying for other people's free transportation.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you right now, already you and I are paying people when they fuel up at City Hall of those charging stations. You and I are paying for that. We got people pulling in there with $150,000 automobiles and fueling up at your expense. I'm sick of that too. And it's, anyway, go ahead.
Glenn Harris shares this. Info provided to me by Glenn Gower. Free fare for December. We have not been paying RTM for the trains, saving approximately $4.5 million per month. That's the fund being used to cover the free fares for December.
Oh, come on.
One objective. Blah, 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 blah.
Excuse me. You know what? Wait a minute. If we have saved money because they haven't done their job, why that money should come to us. This is a service not available. So don't tell me, oh, well, we got this pot of money here. That money should go back to the taxpayers. We taxpayers, after all, have forked over what? So far, $2.5 billion for this thing? I mean, come on, folks. It's our money. Damn it.
Yeah, that's David's point right now. He says, who paid RTG? We did. Still taxpayers' cash.
Thank you.
Yep.
Oh, thank you. Somebody gets it out there. Thank you. We'll be back tomorrow.
The Lowell Green Show is seen and heard live around the world at 2 p.m. Eastern. Connect with us online at blasttheradio.com/Lowell Green. Can't join us live? Download the Lowell Green podcast. Available on Apple, Spotify, Google, and more. Ask your smart speaker to play the Lowell Green podcast. This is a production of blasttheradio.com.